Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. Yeah, you know what it is. Hard worker, scrappy, unfiltered, and sometimes unhinged football content. Hard to explain, but you know it when you see it. Doing it daily our way. I don't know what you're talking about right now. Redraft and Dynasty Fantasy Football, we got you covered. You know their defense is ranked like 31st in the NFL? NFL draft prospects and rookies? Now you know you in the right place for that.
Absolutely.
All right, then stop saying it. Then we're done. And prop bets with my man Jay Rich. Count that money, man. Now wipe the crust out of your eyes. Get you a cup of coffee. It's time to wake your ass up with Ray G. You honestly are making absolutely no sense, and you sound silly as hell. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good people. We are back. Y'all thought we were gonna. Okay, so this is what happened. We're doing the show, and in the subdivision I live in, they're still building there's like 3 new houses being built. All of a sudden, everything goes black, just dead, everything dead. They cut the power line or did something, cut the power off. So we were out for like 20 minutes, but I know y'all thought and it's crazy, Jay, because I kept seeing like comments come through, but no power, like whenever anyways, y'all thought we were not going to finish the show. We're going to finish the damn show. We got to finish the show. So we're back again to the loyal 30 of y'all that are in here. Thank y'all for not giving up hope. And I saw one of the best comments from Alvin right here. You got to put this in the actual YouTube comments. Greatest comeback since Kansas over UNC. They're not keeping us down, Jay. It's not. They cannot keep. They can't. ESPN is watching. ESPN is watching. They will not keep us. Of all the days, they're like, there's no way. These dudes are talking about doing stuff this way, that way. Show going off. Curse words left and right. I don't even know where we were when we got cut off, Jay. I have no clue. But I've got time.
Yeah, this is going to be exclusive. You know, for everyone who's watching, this show could go an hour. I don't know what the hell's going to happen. I don't know. We were talking about the 207. We were asking people where their cutoff point was in the second round, right?
Yes.
You know, got a little discombobulated, but we're back. We're back, baby.
Yes.
We're back.
So we're back.
The biggest thing was for us, Sky Moore was one of the guys I said, you know, if I can't get Sky Moore, I'm probably out. You mentioned Trey McBride and the tight end premium. You're out. Right. We don't really care for David Bell. We don't really care for James Cook. We don't care for Carson Strong. We don't care for anybody after that. And then Cody Carpentier, our boy, was like, you know, I'll take a shot mid-second, but after that, give me late third, give me fourth round darts. And then we kind of were slowly moving into the third round. You know, like you said, Christian Watson, Alec Pierce, George Pickens, Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, Rashad White, David Bell, Sam Howell, Carson Strong, James Cook, Trey McBride, John Mechie, one of my guys I do like a lot, but back of the second, maybe a little early for me. But that's kind of where we're at with the second round. And so now we can kind of turn to the third round, see where those dart throws ended up that we were taking, and kind of go from there, man. But I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, man, it's good to be back. We were definitely not gonna come back tomorrow and do the show, so I was like, we gotta fucking finish it today. Like,
that was the one thing I was thinking. I'm like, there's no way Ray's coming back tomorrow.
Hell or high water, we gotta finish it today. But yeah, back to the mocks. So we talked about it. Yes, tight end premium. The only tight ends that I have any interest in, man, at this stage of the process, and you know, we'll see. Maybe I think Greg. I said Dolce and Gabbana. Dolchich. I think I pronounced his name wrong. He's another one that I'm in on. I think it's him, Trey McBride, and Jelani Woods in tight end premium leagues. If it's not tight end premium, I don't really care. Like I can find a replacement level NFL guy, even like a Harrison Bryant, right? Like I'm not spending any significant draft capital on these tight ends. Likely was supposed to be this athletic freak and then goes out there and tests Jalen Wademeyer levels of athletic and at tight end. That's what I'm looking for. Athleticism does matter at tight end for me. I am looking for that. So, yeah, man, you look at Sam Howell maybe, but in this mock he's drafted to Detroit in the third round. I mean, is he any threat to just asking, is he any threat to Jared Goff? Like, say what you want about Goff. No, not immediate. So It got
He's
ugly.
Kellen Mond Davis Mills, right? Last year was a coin flip. One was great and started, and one was terrible, and his coach wouldn't even play him. So
I think it's a good fit for him, right? Like it's a good shot. Like he could potentially have an opportunity, but man, to take that in the second round when you could potentially be able to do what we were talking about, trade out of 2, pick up a first rounder in 2024, and maybe a dart throw at the back of the, the back of the 3rd, top of the 4th in this draft. That'd probably be a move, Jay, that I would be willing to make. Let's take a look at the 4th round of this exercise. So where's that at? All right, there's round 4. Let's get that off the screen. Let's move this over. And let's take a look at round 4. So round 4, we have the aforementioned Isaiah Likely coming off of the board. Calvin Austin.
Did you skip round 3?
Oh, did I skip round 3? My bad.
You skipped round 3. You skipped round 3.
My bad. Let me go to round 3. My bad.
We're good.
All right. Here we go. Round 3. Yeah, I knew something didn't look right. Like, we're like, shit, 2 to 4. Jalen Tolbert off of the board at the top of the 3rd. And in this mock, where was Tolbert taken? Cleveland. We talked about this. It just seems like Cleveland is just a good fit for Jalen Tolbert. I don't know why, but it seems like it's a good fit for him. Tyler Algier came off the board at 302. And in this mock, Algier was selected by the Giants in the 4th round. So top of the 4th round, day 3 running back Jerome Ford coming off of the board. He was Denver's selection at 115. Khalil Shakir, the wide receiver out of Boise State, went to Buffalo in this mock, right? So maybe an Emmanuel Sanders, Cole Beasley replacement. Greg Dolch, he came off the board at 305. This was not specified as tight end premium, but this just shows you what people are valuing these tight ends. Now, he lands in Tampa Bay. Gronk, whether Gronk is there or not, he's got a good shot at being that tight end too. Cameron Brate there, no O.J. Howard in the way anymore. And then we get Pierre Strong off of the board. He was drafted in the 4th round in this mock, I believe. The 4th round, Pierre Strong, to San Francisco. I took Brian Robinson at the 3-7. Brian Robinson was not drafted in this particular mock by Oliver, so we assume 5th round draft capital at best. And it got to the point, man, where I'm looking at these cats on the board. I'm looking at Calvin Austin, Justin Ross, Tyquan Thornton. I'm just like, I don't want any of those guys. I'm just dart throw city at this point. And if I'm throwing darts in the 3rd or 4th round, I'm throwing those darts at running back. So for me, B-Rob, even if he's a 5th round pick, and I know the hit rate of that position is low, but maybe you find yourself the next insert undrafted free agent late round running back. I'm just taking the shot on Brian Robinson, and you were right behind me, and you did the same thing with Zamir White. Zamir White was not selected in this mock draft exercise, and you were like, I'm taking Zamir White at 308. Did you sort of think the same thing? Like, I don't want Trey Berry. I don't want Khalil Shakir right here, or he was off the board, but Tyquan Thornton and all these other guys, you're just kind of like, screw it, right?
100%. I even thought, honestly, I got him a little low. Like, I understand he wasn't drafted in this mock, but at the same time, he's still, 5-star prospects in Zamir White. He's got the knee concerns, but still running back at Georgia, ran way faster than we thought, so he's clearly athletic as hell. And I understand that people want to take these receivers because maybe they got 4th round capital, but 4th round draft capital doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything for running backs, doesn't mean anything for wide receivers. Just the hit rates aren't any better. So for me, I'm like, I can take a running back that maybe in this exercise didn't go this high, but we think has potential to be drafted in the 2nd, 3rd round. Maybe he's drafted 4th, 5th. But at that point, if you want to bet on a talent, you're talking about betting on Brian Robinson, the productive running back out of Alabama, prospect pedigree, great program, all that stuff. Same thing with Zamir White, prospect pedigree, great program, hard running style, big body running back that can hopefully hold up in the NFL. So it's better than betting on a scat back or a wide receiver out of Boise State or UCLA tight end. Like, I understand that you get all these guys, but we're talking about like blue blood program running backs that churn out guys every year. And to me, that's the better bet.
It's interesting, man. Yesterday, I got to pull this up, Jay, because Jordan Backus, we were talking about conference hit rates, like just what conferences you want players for. And I didn't think there was any merit to it. And then he started giving me the data. Essentially, the cliff notes are you want running backs and wide receivers from the SEC and the Big Ten, fade Big 12 wide receivers. And I'm just talking wholesale shit right here. But it was staggering, the hit rate for wide receiver success. I think it was like 30-40%, hit rate from the SEC and the Big Ten. And then when you got like to Big 12 and Pac-10, it was like 7%, 10%. Like it was
like
mad low.
I was telling you even from last year, I'm like out on Pac-12 running backs. Like I kind of like Tyler Algier, and I think he could be something, but there's just something about the Pac-12 running backs that just
Algier's not even Pac-12. Okay, so here we go. Let's just do this. It's easier to just screenshot it and drop it in here. So let's get this off the board. No one cares about this mock anymore. The show is completely gone to hell. No one, it's just fucking cutting off. It's just terrible. All right, so here we go. Let's go since 2004. So here goes. So drafted wide receivers back to 2004. 28.57% of the top 6 at least once. So top 6 finishes since 2004 at least once at the wide receiver position. 29% of the top 6 wide receivers are from the SEC. 14% are from the Big Ten, and 11% of top 6 wide receivers back to 2004 are from the Big 12. So over double top 6 wide receivers drafted back to 2004 are from the SEC, and that's from 2004. So let's shrink the sample size and go back to the last 10 years, right? Here goes the last 10 years, here we go. So let's do that and look at how bigger the gap gets for the last 10 years. 39% from the SEC, 22% from the Big Ten, and 5% over the last 10 years. Wide receivers drafted from these conferences. That's the hit rate, man, from the Big 12. And then
that's CeeDee Lamb, right? That's it. That's it. There's nobody else there. Well, it ain't Denzel Mims.
Jalen
Reagor.
You know what I'm saying? Like it's there. It is right there. There's your Big 12. 5%, man, that have hit top 6 at least once. No, I don't think it was CD. CD wasn't top 6.
Top 6. Oh,
it's Des Bryant. It's Des Bryant. Yeah. Des Bryant was the only one over the past 10 years to be a top 6 guy. So again, I'm just looking at the data, and when I'm in the later rounds, I'm not going to just be like, he's a Big 12 receiver, I'm not going to take him. But I'm taking all the pieces of information and kind of putting it into the puzzle, right? So now let's dive into looking at top 12 for the last 10 years. So this is top 12. So this is top 6 that we're looking at. Now let's take a look at top 12, all right? Top 12 from the last 10 years. JB is just a beast with this stuff. So let's give it a little bit like, all right, maybe they don't finish top 6. Let's go top 12. Looking at the top 12 wide receivers drafted over the top 12 finishes over the last 10 years, 36.36% of top 12 hits were from the SEC, 15% from the Pac-12, and then 12% from both the ACC and the Big Ten. Do you notice which conference is not mentioned of the Power 5 conferences? You got 1, 2, 3, 4. No Big 12, man. Big 12, over the last 10 years, man. Like this is, or they're just not in this. They're in there, right? But the percentage is lower.
They're at the bottom, yeah.
Yeah, they're at the lower. Not saying that there aren't any. But, man, where do these rates come from? A bunch of just different tables and spreadsheets that JB compiles all this data. There's tons of good resources out there. Peter Howard has like a free database that people can access, and he separates things by conferences. So you can just you can go in there and jig it around. But, yeah, this is what it is, man. So when you're just looking at conference hit rates, when I'm in the 3rd and 4th round, when I'm looking at wide receivers, I'm looking at SEC, man. I want SEC guys. I want John Mechie. I'll take a shot on those guys. I don't think he extrapolated it for running back because we were just talking wide receivers in this particular conversation. What are the big? Oh, no problem, Patrick. So Patrick said, I'm still a college scrub. Nah, man. Not everybody taps into college. So the teams in the Big 12 that are of notable, Oklahoma's going to the SEC, but Oklahoma was in there. Oklahoma, Texas, we know they're going to transition to the SEC. They're trying to get their hit rates to matter a little bit more. Baylor, Texas Tech, TCU, those are the main ones. Would you say Iowa State? Iowa State's in the Big 12. Right? Yeah, Breece Hall, Iowa State. Those are like the notable ones. Baylor, Texas, Oklahoma, TCU. Those are your Big 12 teams right there. The ones, Kansas State, Big 12, Kansas, Big 12. So those are your teams in the Big 12. So basically, you just don't want those wide receivers, right? And you look back, Jalen Reagor, Denzel Mims, Kendall Wright, Corey Coleman, Limas Swede. The only hits, and we went through it, are like Des Bryant, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Crabtree, Wes Welker did fit into that category because he did have a top 12 finish back in 2013, I believe. 2013, 2012. Wes Welker from Texas Tech. Tyler Lockett
James
from
Washington's
Kansas
another
State.
one, right?
Yeah, James Washington, but he was all those Oklahoma State wide receivers outside of Des Bryant were flops. Rashawn Woods, Blackman, James Washington, all of those guys. So I don't know, just interesting data points when you're talking about conference hit rates and fantasy finishes, and there's got to be a correlation and maybe level of competition or something
100%.
like that. All right, let's
100%.
go to Go ahead. I'm just pulling up the fourth round.
I was going to say it always comes down back to speed for me, right? And you look at the speed in the SEC, it most closely mimics what you see in the NFL. And part of that is the level of players that go from the SEC to the NFL, right? I don't even know what the percentages is, but I want to say like somewhere around like 25% of players in the NFL are from the SEC or some wild number like that, especially on defense. So it's the speed that comes through the SEC that continues to show up. And so when you're playing in that, big difference than when you're not, and you have to go to that. You're again taking another jump to a new level of competition.
Yeah, Rose said it best. Competition matters. It does matter, man. You know, if you go back and look at some of those Baylor teams when they were spread and shred with Corey Coleman and Tevin Reese and Terrence Williams and company, they literally would line wide receivers up at the boundary, spread you out 5 wide, and Bryce Petty would just deal. But they're not facing Derek Stingley's and Patrick Surtain's and Roger McCrary's. They're not going up against Jamal Adams and in the SEC defensive backs and even the Big Ten. The DBs in the Big Ten, they're not going up against that competition day in and day out. And that's not saying that these players can't figure it out at the next level, but historically, this is what has me fearful of some of these Big 12 wide receivers, unless they're like elite level prospects, right? Like a Bijan Robinson, like an Xavier Worthy. So, fourth round of this mock, again, at this point, man, I don't care. Isaiah Likely, Calvin Austin, like give me the shot on all the running backs. Ty Chandler, not mentioned in this draft, 5th round pick or later. Zonovan Knight, 5th round pick or later. Justin Ross was selected in the 4th round of this mock. I don't believe Wandale was selected. And if he wasn't. He wasn't. Keontae Ingram, not selected. This quarterback, I don't want him. Romeo Doubs, I don't want him. Tyquan Thornton, we just talked about Big 12 wide receivers. He's fast, right? So if you want a field stretching kind of guy, if he gets requisite draft capital, maybe. Jerrion Ely nor Master Teague were selected in this mock. So all these guys were 5th round picks or later. I do not care about 4th rounders in 2022. I have little to no interest whatsoever in actually utilizing that pick and making a selection. It's just dirty, man. It's just, it's gross. So I think the optimal play, and somebody asked the question, in single quarterback leagues, where would the cutoff be? Is that around 112? Probably, yeah 112, like first round. You want a first round pick, maybe top of the second in single quarterback. I'm trying to go through the list of names. Maybe a Watson is there at the top of the second. Maybe Pickens, and if I don't have all the team, but yes, you want the cutoff is 112, 202, 201.
Might be maybe 201, 202 if you're lucky, but I don't think it stretches much further than that because there's 4 quarterbacks that were taken in the top 16. Right. It was Malik Pickett, Ritter, and Corral, right? So if you take 4 off of our top 16, 17 picks, that takes you about the 201, 202 for our hard drop-off point.
Somebody said the 3rd and 4th are for IDP players this year. Listen, I do have love for Kevin Harris. I was a big Kevin Harris fan coming into the college football season. Then he broke his damn back. I've talked about that multiple times, and then just kind of struggled to, get Zaquandre White played really well for South Carolina, so they weren't just going to bench him. Kevin Harris is a dart throw I'd be willing to take in the 3rd if I've got the 3rd round pick. And I think somebody did that in this mock.
He was drafted 311 in the mock.
311 in the mock.
311 in the mock, and then Kyron was 312. Was another 2 other running backs.
And real quick, let's talk about that real quick. Kyron and Kevin Harris, I'd be willing to take shots at the back of the 3rd on both of those guys. Like I am. Because the tape and the film, you can't watch Kyron and say like, oh, he looks bad. He looks good. He just tested like shit, right? Just tested terrible. But if a team finds him worthy enough to take a shot on him, sometime early in day 3, on day 3, He makes a 53. Maybe he can carve a role for himself. You know, we were saying high-end comp for Kyren Williams because of how good he is in the receiving game is Austin Eckler light. And Eckler was undrafted, right? Now, Eckler was an athletic freak. I mean, he tested out of this world at his pro day. But where Kyren failed at doing that, he did excel on the field against elite competition. So I think they kind of counteract one another a little bit. That's a long way to go for Kyren to hit that ceiling of an Eckler, but it's not Eckler light. This great value version of Eckler for Kyren isn't out of the woods. And Kevin Harris, man, he's got the requisite size. You look at what he did in the 2020 season, in 10 games in the SEC. Absolute monster, over 1,100 rushing yards. I think he had 30-plus receptions, showing that speed burst at 5'10", 5'11", 215-plus pounds, I believe. Kevin Harris is. He's got that size to where if he does get decent draft capital, I don't mind taking a shot on Kevin Harris either. I mean, he was really, really good in the SEC. And if you go back to that 2020 season, it was incredible. Eckler's 40. I think Eckler was like 4.4s, 4.3s at his pro day. I think it was 4.4s, 4.3s at the pro day, something like that, and just crazy, right?
4.4 flat.
Yeah, 4.4 flat. That's what I thought. Low 4.4s, high 4.3s for Austin Eckler. So, you know, smaller guys, sort of like Kyren Williams, but much more explosive, much more athletic. So that's sort of the mock. So my takeaways and wholesale things that we talked about, Jay, 206, 207, I'm out. If I could flip those for future first-round picks, I'd 100% do it, man.
Oh, was that a statement or a question? I didn't even know you were sending that back to me.
You're on the screen.
I think you're right. I think that's the spot, right? 206 is really, for me, even probably generous. I think based on what we've seen, 205 is right where I'm at. You know, that was where I was at, and I just saw a massive cliff drop to where your pick right behind me. I'm like, you know, would I really want Rachaad White? Not really. Not with where he got drafted, not with what's been going on. But like you said, and like people are talking about in the chat, Dynasty Barry saying it, it's the dart throws. It's just the tier gap is so big right there. But after that, there's just a massive amalgamation of players that you could take that are all going to probably land with similar value that I'd be willing to take a shot on any of them. You talked about Kyren, you know, late third. I would honestly take him even earlier than that if you feel so inclined. It's not like there's much of a difference. And for me, he's by far one of the best players I've seen on tape with the guys remaining, right? So I think even if you want to take him early third, I don't think there's really a problem with that because he's the tape, it works. Do you want to take him in the second round because of the draft capital? Absolutely not. But the tape doesn't lie. And so if you're taking a shot on the tape, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because he has the production, the tape looks great. It just comes down to athleticism and the draft capital. And so if you say in the third round, I can kind of ignore those a little bit, I'm okay with it.
So to Dynasty Barry's point, man, this is what's scary. This table is scary as hell to me, Jay. It really begs the question, man, do you really want to bank on any of the rookie wide receivers? And if you have a shot to trade out of Drake London or Jamison Williams and pivot to Deontay Johnson or DJ Moore or Devontae Smith or Elijah Moore, is that a better bet? When you look at this, man, and this is data going back to 2015, so we're not even going back to, 2004. We're looking at 2015, man. 2015. Top 6 finishes for wide receivers drafted in the first round is 10%. 10% of wide receivers that are drafted in first round have a top 6 season, right? And I could probably tell you since 2015 who those 3 hits are. Y'all could at least get 2 of them. Second round wide receivers, 5.9%. Third round wide receivers, 6.9%. Fourth round, 0% hit rate. Fifth round, 6% hit rate, top 6 finishes. Like, this is scary. We got 7 wide receivers going in round 1. There's a good chance only 2 of them are going to be worth a damn. Like, really good, right? Like, really, really elite level that we're projecting. When you look at top 12 finishes, right? All right, it's a little bit better, but this is why I understand why people were fearful of Amon-Ra St. Brown, because he was a 4th round pick. And the hit rate back to 2015 of those wide receivers being drafted in round 4 having a top 12 season is 0. 0%, you know? Round 1, it's a little bit better, 20%. At least you'll be a top 12 wide receiver. You get first round draft capital, you got 20% shot, 21% chance of having a top 12 season. Second round, 14%. Third round, 17%. But it just gets, like, it falls off even harder than the running back position, man. And, like, it's the odds, right? It's what we do. Like, all we're doing in fantasy is trying to find the best odds, right? And that's data combined with film, combined with draft capital, combined with landing spot. You're trying to stack as many favorable outcomes or potential for favorable outcomes in your favor as possible. That's all we're trying to do, right? If you only use one piece of information and you're like, fuck it, I don't care about anything else, I'm just looking at the tape, well, you're not doing yourself a service. If it's just, I just look at the numbers, like Peter Howard said it best. When early in my fantasy football content creation space, I had conversations with Peter Howard, and he said, I'm trying to use as many colors as possible to paint the most complete picture possible. So I look at a little bit of everything. I take information from the film guys. I take information from the data. I take like what teams are telling me. I'm trying to just paint the most complete picture possible for the information that we have. And when I'm looking at this, Jay, all these wide receivers that we love, I love Treylon, I love Drake London, I love Garrett. All these guys aren't going to fire, and we know that, right?
Yeah.
So what's the better play? Is it drafting Jameson Williams, a one-year wide receiver coming off of an ACL? Is it spending the 106, 107 on Jameson Williams, or potentially trading that pick for a wide receiver that we know has produced in the NFL, just based on your odds of hitting what it's like? We don't draft these guys because we want them to be wide receiver 23. We don't draft him because we want him to be, man, I really want to spend this first to get this wide receiver 27. Like, we want, maybe we're not, we know realistically we're not going to get Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson, but we want top 12 wide receivers. We want top 12, top 10 running backs. Like, I'm just asking game theory here. Like, what's the better play? Is it taking the selection on that or trading for one of these young players that we know have proven something in the NFL?
I think there's definitely a case to be made, right? You talk about 20%. We think there's going to be 5 receivers drafted in the first round this year. So one of them is going to hit. And at least 3 of them were like, oh, they're locked and loaded. They're going to hit. They're definitely going to make it. And I think that's the scary part. And the bigger question, I think, even more so, is like, we're talking about guys like Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, guys that are older, that are going to produce, that really aren't that difficult to get in Dynasty because they're older. And so if someone really wants to take a shot on a Garrett Wilson or, a Drake London, are you now starting to think maybe even would I add a second round pick? Like, we're talking a mid first, like 108 and a 208 to go and get a guy that you view as basically elite for the next 2 or 3 years because you're getting that production. You're not going to necessarily get the value spikes of the rookie and be able to trade them for multiple firsts. But if you're going after production, would you be even willing to trade that first and second to get one of those guys to guarantee yourself that production?
Joe said it's probability. It is. It's probability games. It really is. Like, we're looking at it. Like, there's a lot of factors. If you really start diving in, there's a lot of factors, but it truly is. Probability. That shit matters. You know what I mean? These hit, like, that's not fake. That is real. I mean, look at 2020. Look at the wide receivers drafted from 2020 in the first round. Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Reagor. Was there another one? That's 5. Ruggs, Jeudy, Reagor, Jefferson, Ayuk. So 5 of those guys. And and CeeDee Lamb, 6 of them from 2020. Yeah. The only one that finished top 6 was Justin Jefferson. That's
the only one to finish top 12 was Jefferson, right? He's the only hit.
Did Lamb hit a top 12? Did Lamb hit a top 12?
No, not top 12.
I mean,
no way.
It's interesting, right? And somebody said, well, what the question is, what can you get in terms of JMO for NFL wide receivers? I think what you have to do, the pick without the name is worth more than the player, in my opinion. Like, the 106 100%. Is worth more than Jameson Williams. Even if you're going to take JMO at 106, the play is to trade the pick, not make the draft selection and then trade the player. The pick is worth more because it's still an unknown, right? And somebody right here, Roman, just said, I traded the 106 for Chris Godwin and a 202.
Wow, man. That's a great trade.
I think so. I get it. Godwin's what? He's only 25, coming off the ACL. But if you're saying if Brees Hall's off the board, if Kenneth Walker's off the board, if some of the receivers that I'm doing that 10 out of 10 times. You want my 106 and you're going to give me Chris Godwin, and then I get another shot at 202 at a Jahan Dotson, at a Christian Watson? Yes, 100% I'm doing that. So again, I'm not trying to pivot and scare somebody off of rookie picks, but the reality is all these cats that we love, all these cats that we're talking about, they're not going to fire. Like we're not even in the great, think about how great the 2020 class was built up to be. JT, Swift, Clyde, Akers, Dobbins, Antonio Gibson, A.J. Dillon, C.D. Lamb, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Reagor. It was built to be Laviska Shenault. It was built to Michael Pittman. It was built to be this fun. T. Higgins. God, I'm just going on and on. And then you look back and you're kind of like, all right, Swift,
Jonathan Taylor,
JT,
and who else, right?
Jefferson, Pittman, Gibson, Akers, Dobbins. The Ravens are talking about drafting another running back, and J.K. Dobbins' dynasty value is a top 10 running back. It is a very tricky and risky proposition. For me personally, as I think about this, Jay, if I don't, Brees Hall and right now where we stand, Brees Hall and Kenneth Walker, in my opinion, seem to be the surest of bets right now. Like it's two. Like if I had to put 100%. My life on two of the guys being top 12 at their position, it would be Brees Hall and Kenneth Walker right now. It's just interesting, man. It's an interesting conversation. Joe said, hold on, she's got a trade too. I traded the 102 for Stephon Diggs 2 months ago, Ray, in a 1 QB league. Like, great. She wasn't getting Brees Hall. So now it's, Kenneth Walker or Stephon Diggs. Give me Stephon Diggs. Tethered to Josh Allen for the next 4 or 5 years. All she's trying to do is win. I'm trying to win now. I don't care what happens 6 years from now. I got Stephon Diggs for the next 4 years. I'm good to go. He's the wide receiver 1 in Buffalo. Traded the 102 for it in a single quarterback league. I like it. Here goes another one. I traded 102 and Ayuk for A.J. Brown. Good for you. Like, I'm just spitballing here, Jay. You get what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, man, for sure. I think the bigger question for me now is, like, I'm second guessing all of this, and I'm going through, like, my thought process. I'm like, okay, I really want Garrett Wilson. I think he's gonna be a great receiver. I really want Drake London. But it's just like, man, it's the conversation we had with the patrons probably like a month and a half ago. If these guys don't hit, even if they do what Devontae Smith did, where he had 900 yards and broke his team record for rookie receiving, and his value did not go up. His value remained exactly the same. That's great. Oh, David G. Dropping bombshells. Traded the 104 and 105 in Superflex for Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase is special, man. I'm telling you. Jamar Chases do not grow on trees, and they are probably not in this draft class. It's just the truth.
Listen, man, and okay, Austin makes a good point. Although CD hasn't finished top 12, would you consider him a hit considering he's valued as a top 5? And that's
no.
Well, let's it depends on what you're trying to do.
But we don't give out hits, though. You got to hit it.
Right.
You're either in it or you're not. The value, sure, but that's the market dictating the value. Either he hits top 12 this year or he doesn't. But CD's the same thing. If he doesn't have a really good year this year, people are going to be having questions because there's no excuse. Oh, it was Amari, it was Gallup, it was Dak wasn't good, he was hurt. And those are valid points. I'm not saying they're not. But this year is the year he has to prove it. And if he doesn't, his value is going to go way down because there's plenty of guys who've outproduced him.
So I think there's two answers to this. One, no, he wouldn't be considered a hit because he hasn't done it. But if you have CeeDee Lamb, because the community still values him so high, you still have an opportunity to capitalize on that value, right? If you still believe in CeeDee Lamb, I'm still a CeeDee Lamb believer. I do think this is the season it happens for him. But you've got a good situation because you still have a valuable asset. Being valuable is different than actually hitting, right? There's some players, Sam Darnold still had value. going into year 5, being terrible as hell, he still had value. So you still have a valuable asset, but he hasn't hit. Like those that have CeeDee Lamb on their roster, they don't really care how valuable he is. They're pissed off that he hasn't become a 1,400, 12 touchdown, type wide receiver. They're like, yeah, he's valued at this high, but this fucker's not giving me the production that I'm looking for. So I think it's a good question, but can't consider him a hit, but you do still have a very valuable asset on your team. What else do we have? Malik Willis is already a hit. You got to pay Justin Fields to get him. And so Scott Connor and I were texting about this yesterday. And I want to capture exactly what he said verbatim. And because it's not that he's hit, but he says that we were talking about Justin Fields, and he said startup cost and market value on Fields and Lance and T-Law is a massive disconnect. Like the startup cost and then the market value, there is a disconnect. And I think Malik Willis, there are people who are just, for whatever reason, because of Justin Fields' situation last year, they're out. Malik Willis isn't a hit, but he's got a shit ton of value. And what I would do in that situation, if people value Malik Willis over Justin Fields, which means you got to pay Fields plus to get him. If I can trade Malik for Fields and if I can do that on the reverse, I'm smashing that. I will give you my Malik. The thing is, I would probably give you Malik plus to get Justin Fields. But if you're telling me I can get Fields plus to get Malik to trade away Malik Willis, I'm doing that in a heartbeat, Jay. In a heartbeat.
Yeah, 100%. And like you mentioned, right, it comes down to the prospect pedigree. Why are we betting on a guy who couldn't even make it in the SEC, couldn't beat out Bo Nix? And those are valid points. As much as I like Malik Willis, he had to go to Liberty just to get his shot at production. And so you're talking about Justin Fields, a player who was great in the SEC, but didn't play because Kirby Smart wanted to do his thing, and then goes to the Big Ten, the second best conference to a lot of people, and in my opinion, and balls out. So again, if you can make that transition, but I think like you said, maybe you can trade the 102 for Justin Fields plus more than you can trade Malik Willis for Justin Fields
value
plus.
And hit are different. Hit is they're on your roster and they hit. They were top 12, they were top 6, they were top 24, but the value is different, right? Hit to me is, did you finish that fantasy season as a top 6 wide receiver, top 6 running back, top 6 quarterback, top 12 quarterback? Value is different than hit. Hit is, you're on my roster, I played you, you met the threshold, you were top at your position. Value is something completely different. Again, Sam Darnold had 2023 first round value that people were giving up. That doesn't mean he was a hit in any stretch, any sort of realm of the universe, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? So basically, and it's Trey Lance, right? Trey Lance is not a hit yet. He's valued extremely high, but far from a hit. We'll see.
Very far.
We shall see. So I guess the big question I want everybody to think about is, as we approach this, and the hype only intensifies, and once we get closer and closer to the draft, and teams start making moves and trades start getting made, and there becomes more clarity of landing spots, these 2022 picks, all of them, from round 1 to at least through round 2, that value is going to creep up. I would highly consider thinking about some of the second-year wide receivers that, for whatever reason, you're not going to get Chase at any kind of value. Put like Smith, third-year wide receiver like a Michael Pittman, maybe even a Jerry Jeudy going into year 3 with Russell Wilson. Would you rather, I'm asking the question, would you rather Jameson Williams or Jerry Jeudy right now?
I'm taking J-Mo. I think J-Mo is the one receiver that I really, really believe in to be a top 12 guy. And especially, we'll see where he goes ultimately. But I think that the competition concerns for Jeudy are going to be real regardless of who his quarterback is. I know we all want him to be the Blitnikoff winner he was as a sophomore, but it's not looking like that yet. But we'll see what happens this year. Can he be a target hog for Russell Wilson? I don't personally believe so. I think Cortland Sutton will have something to say about that. But if you want to make that bet, I don't hate it, because if he hits, he's going to be super highly valued. And if Jameson Williams doesn't play much, he's not. It's just the truth.
Okay, Chris Olave, I'm just going to lump them together. Chris Olave, Christian Watson, Jahan Dotson, George Pickens, Sky Moore. Would you rather any of those guys or Jerry Jeudy?
Oh, I think that's where, for me, it's almost a coin flip, right? I don't know if I could pick one or the other. There's the shiny new toy fallacy that I want to live in, right? Can they spike in value? I think I would, man. I think I
Okay.
would. I think I'd want to take a shot on the new guy hitting over Judy in some respects, but it's
Devontae
close.
Smith over that cluster. Over
No, I'm taking Smith. Smith to me is basically a hit already, as far as I'm concerned.
Smith or J-Mo?
I think that's a real conversation. I think in most cases it would be JMO. I think it's
Smith
very close.
Smith or Traylon?
Oh, I'm taking Smith for sure. For sure. It's just JMO to me has a ceiling beyond pretty much anyone else in this class that we could see. And so as much as I like Devontae Smith, the chances of JMO going to a better situation are very high given how bad Devontae Smith's situation is right now. And so I'd be willing to bet on the talent of JMO that I really, really like.
Smith or Drake London?
I think I would take Smith.
So if we're going off of that, Smith or let me just ask the last one. Shit, I've done gone through all of them. Smith or Garrett Wilson?
I think I would go with Smith still, but that one's very close as well.
So what you're telling me is the only wide receiver that you would take over Devontae Smith from this rookie draft class is Jameson Williams. So just on building off of that,
yeah.
Then why not? Then if you've got the 105, you should trade that for Devontae Smith plus. Get Devontae Smith plus a third then.
Probably should. You realistically, you probably should. I think that the only concern with Devontae Smith is the quarterback. If he didn't have such a bad offense to be operating in, he could be an 1,100-yard receiver. He could be better than Garrett Wilson. He could be better than Drake London. It's really just the Jameson Williams ceiling is very tantalizing for me, and one that I will be targeting heavily in rookie drafts because he won't be drafted as high. People will take Wilson and Drake and all these guys over him, but he's going to slip in the actual draft because of the ACL tear, and he'll probably go to a better team who really wants him. And because of that, I'm going to be drafting him.
It's just it's interesting to think about that,
for sure.
Man. All right, so we did have one super chat question before the thing went out, and I am sorry it's gone.
So I think I found it.
Okay.
I think I found it. That's when I was scrolling hard. People are asking you to do a wake-up show on April 29th, the day after the NFL draft. And they want to know, can we make that happen? Will we make that happen? This is the all-access show, the show that no one's ever going to see. But they're asking about that because obviously people are going to have rookie drafts on the weekend and before the show potentially even on Monday. How are we going to help the people out with their drafts? There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you want to do it? We can.
I think it just depends on what's going on behind the scenes, but I think definitely we can make it happen. It just depends on where you're at. Right?
What Jay just said is he can't do it, but if I want to do it on my own, he'll set it up for me.
No, we can do it. It just depends on what's going on.
Yeah. There's some stuff going on. I may actually be out there, but I think we can still jump on. I mean, I can bring the laptop and it doesn't have to be.
I can always host a stream and we can have some fun with it and talk about the landing spots for sure. It's just the logistics of it could be more difficult than we expect.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. Ty had one too. He said, "Where does Eddie George land in your all-time running back ranks?" Probably somewhere inside the top 20. But for me, right off the bat, it's Adrian Peterson, Barry Sanders, LaDainian Tomlinson, AP, LaDainian Tomlinson, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith. I don't know who would be 5. I mean, I could say like Jim Brown and Eric Dickerson, but the reality is I didn't see those guys play.
Christian McCaffrey.
Right, yeah. That was not my era. So I think right now, like off of what I saw growing up, just dominant type running backs, that was just fun to watch. AP, Barry Sanders, LaDainian was super, super good. I loved watching him at TCU. That was like my first taste of TCU. It's back when TCU, before they weren't even in the Big 12 when LT was there, and just dominant. It was fun to watch. But Joe was talking about she still has truth or status for like Keyshawn Vaughn. I got some players that I can't quit either. I just will never quit certain players, and hopefully they'll break out. David Njoku being one of those. What is this? I don't even know if this is I don't know. I think Jasmine just typed this in here. I don't. Doesn't look like the other super chat questions, but Jasmine, when are the Friday shows coming? Jay, I think in season, right? In season.
Well, it depends on what we want to do, but the plan was to do a big like betting prop show on Fridays in season. Yeah, when we get all the props and we can really talk about that. And I think that was the plan for Fridays, but I don't know if that means we do shows Monday through Friday in season.
Oh
That's
shit,
the
no,
real
we
conversation.
definitely won't do. But with the Friday show, I think it's coming in season. Jazz, thank you, Jasmine. Thank you for your super chat question. We really, really, Jay Rich appreciates this. You are awesome. You are awesome. Even somebody said send help. Fucking Jazz fake super. I can't stand her, dude. Who does that? She legit did it too. US $5 super chat. She is such a wild one. But all right. Appreciate y'all tapping back into the second half of the Wake Up Show. For those of y'all who didn't hear, they're building a couple of houses. They're still building in the subdivision that I'm in, and they cut the power, so the power went black. But appreciate y'all tapping in the first half. Appreciate y'all tapping in the second half. Y'all have a wonderful freaking weekend. The ladies killing it at the end. Jazz Joe and Lindsey Mack. Ty in the building. Luke Turner. 200 IQ for Jazz. Double stream. Yeah, we couldn't leave y'all hanging like that, Robert, man. We couldn't do that to y'all. So y'all have a great weekend, and we'll be back with that fake $5 from Jazz on Monday. We out. Peace.